Welcome back, Deadites and Ghost Speeders, and if you're new to the channel, I am Oldhead Gaming, normally horror content creator and variety streamer. And if you've been watching the streams the last week, you know we've kind of dove back in doing some prep for Overwatch 2's launch by playing some Overwatch 1. And if you're like me, all returning players are going to get pretty much access to the entire roster, both new and old. But if you're brand new to the game, Blizzard took an approach of allowing you to kind of learn by playing and acquiring old characters by doing the same. Now, Blizzard decided to opt by giving you a much more reduced roster coming out of the gate for the new free-to-play version of Overwatch 2, letting you earn experience and then unlocking characters about every 5.5 matches. I do understand the approach. Overwatch can be a complicated game, and you're playing against players who have been playing anywhere from a few days up into 6 years now, and they kind of want to let you ease your way into it by learning how to play the classes as they add characters. Now, the ones Blizzard chose to add seem to be pretty straightforward to their class and not nearly as complicated as some of the other characters can be. So let's get to it. Who did they start? Now, of course, we'll be playing Overwatch 2 pretty much most of the night, and if you want to join in, stop by the channel. We should be going live around 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The game, though, should go live around 3 p.m. a few hours earlier, and you can go in and play Overwatch 2 and unlock your characters. But who's available to you at start? Let's go to the tanks. For the tanks, you're going to begin with 4 characters that are pretty straightforward. Of all the tanks that were originally tanks in the game, Orisa is probably the most overworked with her staff and the ability to call people into her and do great damage up close. Now, of course, she's got to have a shield. She's going to have some range as well with her stave where she can shoot from it. We're also going to get the master of Crush himself, Reinhardt. Reinhardt with his dash abilities and using his axe or hammer, depending on what skin you're running, to maul all your opponents while you're climbing behind that shield and protecting all of your teammates. The next up is going to be the gorilla genius himself, Winston, who will jump into battle and drop shields like always. There's not all huge changes to Winston, and he's just going to basically use his gorilla agility and power to push forward and lead the charge. And finally, you're going to have probably my favorite of the 4 to play, Zarya, and she has a very unique bubble while blasting ability, allowing her to main tank or protect her teammates while at the same time pushing forward with that powerful cannon. And these are the 4 original tanks you're going to have available to you. Some of the off tanks that the class that was actually eliminated, making the game 5v5 versus 6v6, are going to be only available via play. Next up, you're going to have 6 options for DPS, and the first one's going to kick off with the cover girl herself, Tracer. Tracer, it bounces around all over with her dual pistols, trying to use her time skip to get up close while zipping out at the same time. You're also going to get the dwarf fire throwing, turret laying Torbjorn, allowing him to kind of set traps while at the same time pew pew pew. You're also going to get a very good character, and probably my recommendation for starting out. Soldier 76 has abilities that allow him to not miss while firing missiles at the same time. He can literally shoot around corners, so I call him the Wanted of characters if you've seen that movie. You're going to get probably the most complicated for probably a new starting player, and that's Farah. Her flying and bombing at the same time might be a little bit for you guys when you first start, but she's a really fun character to play. And of course, her best friend's available, so we'll get to that in just a second when we talk about supports. You're also going to get Mr. Die, the dual pistol running Grim Reaper himself. Reaper is available at launch. And finally, last and definitely least, the character you should probably not play until you've at least mastered the maps completely and know where to hide, to be a sneaky spider, and that is Widowmaker, the sniper extraordinaire. Now, the 3 supports you got are probably the best true healers and not as complicated as some of the other supports that are available in this game. And that's going to be Lucio skating around, having some good vibes and healing your opponent while doing some pretty decent off damage. You're also going to get the split down the middle queen herself, Moira, where her left and right are completely different for healing and damage, while her ultimate allows her to do both simultaneously depending on whom you hit. And finally, my main, who you always see me play, Mercy, the queen, the angel of heaven herself, with her wings of awesomeness, will be available, the best true healer in the game when it comes to straight single target, that is. She's also able to boost the damage of your team to your opponents, and she's just always been a lot of fun to play. So, and you'll be seeing a lot of Mercy from me tonight. Those are the characters you're going to have available at launch. You're going to have 13 of the 32, leaving 19 left to be unlocked. Now, as I said, it's going to take about 100 matches to unlock all the characters from the original roster, and it looks like it's about every 5.5 matches you should be unlocking a character based on that model. And to start out that team, it's going to be Genji, the slash-em, dash-em ninja, one half of the twins, and Genji will allow you to just jump around, throw stars, and have a lot of fun. Now, the only downside to getting Genji first of all the unlockable characters is he does seem to have a high skill base, so he might be a little much for you coming out of the gate as your first unlocked character and probably only a few matches in. Coming up next is my tank, who I always use, and that's D.Va. D.Va is awesome. She jumps around, she pews, and then she gets a mech, and then does all sorts of damage with rockets and bombs and has a lot of fun. Next up, it's High Noon, with Cassidy being unlocked. And Cassidy is your classic Cowboy 6 shooter, using his abilities to basically knock out your opponents as quickly as possible, or at multiples, depending on when his ultimate is free. The first support you're going to unlock is going to be Ana and her sniper rifle. And Ana does both damage and healing through shooting. So as you get used to controls, you'll figure out how to heal and DPS at the same time. The second half of the twins is next, and that is Hanzo, the bow headhunter and dragon thrower himself. And then we're going to go down to the land of the Aussies, where Junkrat appears next. And Junkrat basically is a gizmo gadget type of player where he throws C4 and bombs and tries to trap you. Next up is the next off tank, who will now be a main tank, and that's Roadhog, who uses his chain to basically grab a hold of his opponents, get over here style, bring them in and shoot them in the face. He also does have a heal as well, so he's the only tank that can kind of heal himself up, and I think that will be a lot more helpful now that he is going to be the only tank instead of the off tank. Next up is DPS Symmetra, who allows you to teleport around the map and get behind your opponents while at the same time doing decent damage with their metrics. You're next up going to get another complicated support in Zenyatta. Zenyatta is primarily a DPS until the ulti hits, and then the ulti does ridiculous healing. Next up is Bastion. Bastion is a one-tank Wrecking Crew DPS who is basically a living tank and turret and just transforms and shoots everything in his path, and Bastion is just a wrecking machine. Next up is the Maestro tank himself, Sigma, who uses his ability to manipulate gravity to orchestrate a wonderful symphony of destruction. Next up is Ashe, the sniping firebomb throwing DPS with her sidekick ulti, Bob, who is his own tank and problem in his own right. This will be followed by Brigitte, a support tank hybrid. Now, she is a support who has a shield. She used to be able to stun you with her shield bash. She can't do that anymore, and she does a really good job boosting the team at the same time. This will be followed by DPS Mai, who uses a freeze gun, builds walls, encapsulates herself in ice to protect herself. Now, she used to be able to freeze her opponents in place. That ability has been removed. The character who used to be one of the most annoying DPS to go against is now a tank, and that's Doomfist. Doomfist will just punch you in the face until you are dead, or drop out of the sky and crush you until you're dead. And now he is a tank, so he has more health, but he did lose his uppercut, so he might be a very unique play against for all of us older players, and very fun for all you new players as well. Next up is Baptiste. Baptiste is another quasi support character who can boost his team while at the same time doing solid damage. This will be followed by one of the more boosted characters probably coming from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, and that is Sneaky Sombra. Sombra's ability to cloak and hack is now the same time, so you can be invisible while locking down your opponent's specials, and is a very helpful, especially if you're on defense, allowing you to take away your opponent's abilities just for that second when they need them. Coming in next is the final tank, Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball is a hamster from hell who will attach himself to walls and swing around like literally a wrecking ball. And finally, the last character, and probably one of the ones you'll play the least, is Echo. Echo just goes pew 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 with lasers and orbs, and she's kind of just there. So, And there you have it. There's the entire roster of what you're going to see coming at Overwatch when it drops this afternoon. And I wanted you to know, as a new player, who will be available to you and who will not be. Let me know in the comments. Are you mad about this? Are you kind of okay with the fact that you're going to have less characters at start? Do you feel like that puts you at a disadvantage? Or do you feel like that gives you an opportunity to learn the game and unlock characters gradually? And now, of course, there's also the Watch Point Pack, which is available at purchase for $40, which will give you the new character Kiriko at launch. It also gives you a bunch of other skins and stuff that you might catch up that you weren't able to get coming out of Overwatch 1. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Are you excited? Are you ready to make your initial foray into the world of Overwatch? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and later, mates.